please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me is Mangalam Malu. Mangalam, good afternoon. In fact, in the last few minutes of trade, while we were talking about cabinet and the sugar prices going up because of the ethanol boost, the markets have also turned into the green. So some of the gainers that are really coming in terms of contribution and giving that support to Nifty 50 have been Bharti Airtel, Bajaj Finserv, Hero MotoCorp, SBI. So across the board, there has been some bounce back that has been seen in the frontline indices. Mid-caps also have pared down the losses that they had seen, 0.3% still down. It's a bank Nifty which is taking the biggest knock, led by ICICI Bank, which is more than 0.5% down. Advanced decline, that remains weakish at this point. But all this and a lot of this has been impacted because of the rupee movement, touched yet another low for the day today. So let's focus on that and the macros. It's not a double but a triple whammy for the Indian economy. Rupee continues to weaken, bond yield spike and crude oil soars as well. Now we have Lata, Ritu and Manisha with us to put the spotlight on all the three macro concerns that are really teething worries for our economy. Let's start with Rupee, which has hit another low for the day today, and the clamor grows louder for RBI to take stringent actions over here. And CNBC TV18 has conducted a poll of 10 economists to know what they think and if the RBI will hike pre-policy. Ritu, over to you.
Well, Nisha, you know, there have been a lot of concerns about the pace of decline of rupee. But that said, most of the participants that we polled said they do not expect the Reserve Bank of India to take a rate action before its October policy. It's really unwarranted at this point of time, primarily because, you know, the Reserve Bank of India is an inflation targeting, body. Forex intervention is not really its stated objective, although it does intervene time to time to curb volatility. But that's about it. So all the respondents that we polled, a majority of them at least said that there is no need really for the Reserve Bank of India to hike rates before its October policy. We also asked them, you know, if there's any chance that the RBI may act. All of them were unanimous because of the reasons I gave you, that they do not expect the Reserve Bank of India to act to curb this rupee fall. We also asked, you know, several of the economists that we polled where they see the rupee by the end of the year, and these are on your screen right now, you know, starting with ICRA, Crystal, Kotak, all of them. The lowest range that they see the rupee trading at is at about 68 to the dollar, and the highest even goes up to as high as 75 to the dollar, and all of those are up on your screen. So clearly some do believe that the rupee could depreciate even further from the current levels of about 72 that they're seeing. Lastly, we also asked all the respondents that we polled, what is the one single biggest macroeconomic concern of today? Is it the rupee? Is it the current account deficit? Is it the combined deficit of 7.2%? Or is it the continued emerging market stress? The majority seem to believe it is, the current account deficit, which is likely to touch 3%. That remains the biggest concern of the day, given that oil prices are falling. We are an oil importing nation, coupled with the fact that the rupee has also depreciated so much, means our bill could rise, really high, which is why CAD, that is the current account deficit, that remains the biggest worry of the day, even greater than rupee fall, which is, after all, a result of, what we're seeing at the CAD.
Right, Ritu. Thanks a lot for that interesting analysis there. But, Lata, can the RBI actually hike at all without the MPC? Is there a provision there? What's the debate here?
Exactly. You know, more than will the RBI hike rates to protect the rupee, the debate is, can it hike rates, given that the new dispensation requires that repo rate can be moved only by the Monetary Policy Committee. So, can the RBI hike rates without calling a meeting of the MPC? Debate number two is, why MPC? The MPC's remit is to control inflation, target inflation, and if there is a sudden movement in the currency, then that is the remit of the Reserve Bank. So it doesn't have to call the MPC. And then there is debate number three, or position number three, if you please, which says that this is an artificial distinction. If a rupee buys less within the country, that is inflation, then it also buys less dollars. So actually you're handling the same concern. and therefore, you have to have a discussion with the MPC on it. It is very much everyone's remit, and the intention of the MPC was never to curb the RBI, especially in acting in emergencies, and therefore something like a video conferencing or a emailed vote is not at all difficult if the Reserve Bank wants an inter-policy hike. But as Ritu's poll pointed out, many of them don't believe that an inter-policy hike is needed, and that's because they feel the rupee in the first place has not reached fair value. Because it did not move for the past 4 years, it's moving with a gap, and therefore it needs to correct a little more to reach its long-range average. As well, the Reserve Bank never, for that matter, the government never ever resorts to rate hike as the first option. It's usually to pull out the oil demand from the system and tell the oil companies, come straight away to RBI and borrow your dollars. So as the demand for dollars goes down, the currency stabilizes automatically. The government may also look at some special import curbs on non-essential imports, like perhaps some consumer electronics. It maybe definitely will look for export promotion steps, though these normally work in the long run. And finally, there is, of course, FCNRB bonds on the table. But I can tell you from some experience reporting on the RBI, that is never RBI's first resort.
All right, so those are the options, and the Reserve Bank of India, whether or not it will act upon rupee downfall is to be seen. Rupee has considerably recovered from the lowest point of the day today, and there is a fair bit of support seen at 73 to $1 level. But let's shift focus on crude. There's a double whammy because rupee weakening also makes crude more expensive for India. So coming to you, Manisha, the crude oil is on the rise as well. What's the buzz there?
Well, the buzz really is that it's not going to stop the kind of rise that we have seen in the sector, because whatever fundamentals and whatever charts you're looking at, it is still pointing on a higher side momentum here. Starting right with the US weekly inventories, which have continued to decline. 8.6 million barrels of a decline is what it shows in this week, to the EIA report, which says that as we go ahead into 2019, the US production is going to continue to plateau. So there isn't going to be an increase there. In the meanwhile, you have seen the Iran sanctions continue to cut the crude exports from Iran, which is down by 28% already since the month of April. And we're just about perhaps a couple of months away from that sanction deadline. That is when the markets will start really reading into the numbers that in sense of exports and the gap that the Iran sanctions will create into the market. Russia also says that the geopolitical concerns will curb supplies. You also have the hurricane season going on. The second hurricane of the season, Florence, is expected to make a landfall by Friday on the East Coast. And the hurricane season continues until 30th of November. So there are enough issues in the global markets which will continue to support the prices.
Around the 11,300 mark for the Nifty, the mid-caps have recovered about 150 points from the low point of the day. But one company which is in focus on our radar after celebrating 25 years of listing today, that is Motherson Sumi. The management is quite hopeful of achieving their 2020 goals. Let's hear out what they had to speak or what they had to say on this occasion.
I think one of the biggest things that we are very grateful for is that our investors are very well attuned to the fact that it's not a top-line growth company. It's actually cash in the bank, or what we said, the ability to have a visual identification for the top line and bottom line. My investors would be very, very happy to see that we may not have hit bang on 18 billion, but we definitely have met our bottom line targets. So it's all about a combination of these two things. If it was only top line, believe me, it's relatively very easy in these turbulent times. It's very easy to go and pick up companies just for the top line. I think where the pain is that the governments, the car makers, the people in general are trying to figure out what is the real thing which is going to pass them that particular benefit of cleaner fuels or cleaner air or whatever is the conditions over there. What we are trying to tell Motherson people is that you have to be on your toes. You have to be very quick to respond, very quick to change, very quick to be able to take advantage of the trends and the things that are coming in the coming times.
All right, so that was the management of Motherson Sumi. Do remember to catch that entire conversation tonight at 7 p.m. only on CNBC TV18. Let's shift focus to one stock on our radar, Mahindra & Mahindra. That stock takes a big knock today and still hovering around the low point of the day on the news that the US regulator will probe an alleged patent infringement case of the Jeep model. Reema Tendulkar has been tracking that closely. Reema, what does M&M has to say and what is the case all about?
Hi, thanks so much for that. Yes, as you pointed out, the US regulator will be probing a complaint against M&M over a Jeep patent. This complaint was filed by Fiat Chrysler against M&M for alleged infringement of the patent. The US trade agency has indicated they are launching a patent-related investigation into M&M's Rockstar vehicle and the automobile, and the authorities have said that they're looking to complete the investigation within the next 45 days. M&M has responded to our query by saying that the complaint is without merit, but the street is clearly spooked because that stock is under pressure today.
Let's take it to the tech world, and American tech giant Apple is expected to announce 3 new iPhones later tonight. It's a big event at its Gather Around event, and it is likely to launch a 6.5-inch device with an OLED display, which is an upgrade to the current iPhone X with a 5.8-inch OLED display and a lower-priced one as well coming in, 6.1-inch handset with an LCD screen. Along with iPhones, the company is also likely to make announcements on other products such as iWatch and AirPods as well. So yeah,